Good morning, welcome to Optimal Frequency. I'm Grant. I talk to spirits here at my house using sources of white noise. I then remove the white noise with an artificial intelligence. That leaves behind the spirit's responses to the questions that I ask. Now, last night I did some research and I watched 4 episodes on Netflix of a show. It was a mystery that's been going on for 40 years. And I personally had never heard of it, but it's a very big mystery over in Italy. So this is called Vatican Girl, The Disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. That is the name of the Netflix show. I highly recommend if you're like me and you know nothing about this mystery. It's a very convoluted story. It's very engrossing, in depth. It's scary. It's like you wonder what would I do if I was a parent in that situation. So it's definitely well worth a watch. It'll go through so many things in these 4 episodes about what I'm about to do here with this session because starting to shivers already. I'm going to work up at least 30 good questions that remain unanswered that hopefully the spirits can provide answers to on this mystery of this missing 15-year-old girl. So there seems to be 3 main theories behind her disappearance. So one has to do with the guy who shot the Pope back in 1981. He was a member of this fanatical group, the Grey Wolves, I believe. In the documentary, they said, or he said, that it was the KGB from Bulgaria at the time that had trained him, and that when he shot the Pope and he was captured, the Bulgarians then took the girl, or the Russians or whoever took this girl, and they wanted to exchange the girl for him, and they were, of course, going to silence him or whatever, right? So that's kind of one theory. There's more to it. It's explained better in the documentary, but that's the overall arc of that. Then you got this whole crime boss thing. You got these mafia guys that are in Vatican City or around it, and apparently one of them, there's basically 2 main groups that are talked about in the documentary. So the one group, this guy was a mafia boss. He had a green BMW. Apparently, it was said that he possibly kidnapped her, and they were trying to get back money that they had invested into the Vatican's bank. So we're talking like $500 million that the Vatican was not giving back to these gangs, right? All very dirty and convoluted. So in the documentary, there's a girlfriend that steps forward of that mafia boss, and she says, she spent 10 days in an apartment with that girl. She was drugged. She was taken care of by a handler, the girl was. And then the girlfriend says that she actually put the girl in a car through organized by the mafia boss guy. They put her in a car with the girl, and the girlfriend drove the kid back to the Vatican where she was picked up by a priest. So that's in the documentary. So that's the second theory. Okay, it's something to do with crime bosses and the mafia at that time. And the third theory is that Emanuela's disappearance had something to do with a sex scandal, because in the documentary, one of Emanuela's friends from that time, I'm getting shivers now. I think we're onto something here, boy. Yep, you got to be able to see these on my arm. Look at the hair standing up. Just whoo. I think they just answered for me, but I'm going to go to the sink and ask these questions later. But her friend, who would have been probably the same age, 15 or 16 at the time, Emanuela confided in her the week before Emanuela disappeared, saying that something had happened in one of the gardens of the Vatican where a close person of the Pope had approached her in an inappropriate way. Also, let me read something here for you from the wiki that I'm looking at. So it says, in May of 2012, when interest in the case was renewed, leading police to search the De Pedris tomb, then 85-year-old exorcist Father Gabriel Amorth claimed that Orlandi was kidnapped by a member of the Vatican police for sex parties and then murdered. So that is the third theory, the whole sex scandal thing. So I'm going to ask some specific questions about that at the sink as well, and let's see if we can narrow it down. But like I said, with the shivers and that, I think Emanuela and the spirits already narrowed it down for me. So something is caught as I'm leaving the room here to go do my session. Now there are two things said, and the first one's not super clear. And not only that, but a voice says something, and on the last word it gets cut off as a second voice starts saying something. Now this is pertinent to this story because immediately I think what they're talking about is exactly why I got shivers yesterday when I got to the third theory about sex crimes. Now, I have 3 pages of questions. This is going to be a doozy. It's going to be hopefully 2 parts. I don't want to stretch it too far. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this. The messages are coming in clear already. This is crazy. I'm just going to play this from top to bottom because I have them in this order. Yeti microphone at the top, which is at the sink, piped back to the computer. Then what I'm going to play is what the Sony captured here in the basement. And then I'm going to play what the phone captured. And I think it's all talking about the same thing. Whoa. Brown water. Haven't had that in a long time. I'm getting rid of that brown water. I don't want it cycling through the pump. Why it was brown, I have no idea. Clear water, like my conscience. And run the sugar bowl in the opposite sink, which I don't normally do. I normally put the kettle fountain and the sugar bowl in the same sink. Alright, good morning, Spirit Team. Now, this all started a couple nights ago when Robin and I watched Vatican Girl on Netflix. So I want to know, is Emanuela ready to come through, tell her story, answer these questions? Okay, now, I also asked to speak to somebody else, and this person was a high-ranking official here on Earth. Can you please say his name now so that you can confirm that you know who I want to speak to? All right, as brazen as this is, I asked to speak to Pope John Paul II, okay? I had this feeling he wanted to come through and give us messages. The name is verified. I'm going to play a short message for you from the Sony. You can hear his name, and then they said something, but his name was kind of fuzzy. In the exact same spot, because they said his name across all three devices in the exact same spot. I'm going to play the phone one right below that or after that, and you can clearly hear them say John Paul again. So check this out. I mean, they're answering my questions, and I don't know what he's going to say, but I think he had messages for us, and I haven't got to that part yet. On Wednesday, 22nd of June, 1983, Emanuela was late to class. She had asked her brother Pietro to drive her to her class, especially as the day was very hot, but he had other commitments. I've gone over it so many times, telling myself if only I had accompanied her, maybe it wouldn't have happened, he recalled decades later. Later that day, Emanuela called home to explain why she was not home yet. Speaking to one of her sisters, she said she had received a job offer from a representative of Avon Cosmetics. According to some reports, Emanuela allegedly met with the Avon rep shortly before her music lesson. At the end of the lesson, Orlandi spoke of the job offer with the girlfriend, who then left the girl at the bus stop. Orlandi was allegedly last seen getting into a large, dark-colored BMW. At 3 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of June, Emanuela's parents called the director of the music school to ask if any of their daughter's classmates had information. The police had suggested waiting because perhaps the girl was with friends. She was officially declared a missing person that day. Over the next 2 days, announcements of the disappearance were published with the telephone number of the Orlandi house in the newspapers. Okay, I'm going to jump into these questions. Emanuela, can you please come through and answer some questions about your disappearance? Do you miss your family and watch over them? Your brother feels guilty about not driving you to your practice that day. What do you say to him? Did you guys hear that? This is the real deal. This little girl is talking to her brother. Now, she said she wants to tell him God was right, not his fault. I don't know what she meant by when she said God was right. Did she mean God had a plan and that all this suffering, there's a reason for it? Or Pietro, I think is his name, her brother, did he feel at one point that he had a message from God that it was not his fault? I don't know the answer to that. All I know is what I'm hearing. I asked a question. These three bop, bop, bop come through, and it makes so much sense. You know that little girl would tell her brother that it wasn't his fault. This is the real deal, guys. I mean, I'm not orchestrating anything here. I am just putting the messages out there that I'm getting. Did you like to play the flute or the piano better at the music school? The man that approached you on that day about selling Avon, did he kidnap you? Alright folks, so this has taken me about 3 days to get to this point. I've got equal amounts more questions to go through, so I am blown away as usual. Like that last question, that was clearly a girl's voice saying something about a big guy. He took me. Yeah, I don't know. 311 or 12 videos now, and this still blows my mind. Alright, join me next time for part 2. Thanks for watching. Love, peace, joy, and adventure to all of you.